The night I found the receipt for a $500 necklace I'd never given my wife, I didn't scream. I didn't smash anything. I just stood in our dimly lit kitchen, the paper trembling in my hand, while Emily hummed Taylor Swift in the shower like the world wasn't collapsing. Her phone buzzed on the counter. "Derek, 8:43 p.m. Can't wait to see you in it tomorrow." My place? The screen lit up the room like a grenade. My stomach dropped. Derek. Her gym trainer. The guy she swore was just a friend when I joked about his sleeveless shirts and protein shake sermons. I grabbed her phone, my thumb hovering over the password field. Our anniversary. 0621, the lock screen dissolved, and there it was, a gallery of deleted texts resurrected in her recently closed tabs. Plans. Dates. A photo of her wearing nothing but that damn necklace. The shower stopped. I shoved the phone back, the receipt crumpled in my fist, and leaned against the fridge. Emily emerged, towel wrapped tight, her blonde hair dripping. She froze when she saw my face. "What's wrong, Jake?" Her voice was syrup, but her eyes darted to the counter. I held up the receipt. "Who's Derek buying jewelry for?" She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "Jealousy's not a good look on you." She snatched the paper, her smirk icy. "It's a gift for his sister." "God, relax." "His sister." My voice was flat. "Then why's he texting you about seeing you in it tomorrow? At his place?" The color drained from her face. For a second, I thought she'd crumble. Beg. Instead, she rolled her eyes. "Fine. You caught me. We've been close. But it's your fault. You've been checked out for months." "Checked out?" I stepped closer, my jaw tight. "I've worked 60-hour weeks to pay for this house. For your Pilates classes. For. Oh, spare me the martyr act." She tossed her towel on the floor, deliberate, like she wanted me to look. To remember what I'd lost. "You think money fixes boring? Derek's alive. You're just here." The words hung, venomous. I lunged for her phone, pulling up the photo. "You call this alive?" She didn't flinch. "At least he notices me." Something in me snapped. I hurled the phone against the wall. It shattered, glass skittering across the tiles. Emily just crossed her arms. "Real mature, Jake. Now buy me a new one." I left. Not a slam, not a shout. Just silence as I drove to the empty office, replaying her smirk in the rearview. 3 days later. The private investigators folder hit my desk at noon. Photos of Emily and Derek exiting a motel. Time-stamped receipts for weekday gym sessions. And a kicker, Derek's rap sheet. Aggravated assault. Drug charges. I smiled for the first time in weeks. That night, I planted the file in her yoga bag. Let her find it. Let her sweat. At 2 a.m., she stormed into the garage, waving the papers. "What the hell is this?" I looked up from my toolbox. "Insurance." "You're following me now?" "No," I stood, wiping grease off my hands. "I'm exposing you. Derek's got a record. Violent. What do you think his parole officer'll say when they find out he's screwing a married woman?" Her slap cracked across my cheek. "You're pathetic." I grabbed her wrist, hard. "And you're trapped. Divorce me, and I leak this. You'll lose everything. Stay, and I'll ruin him." She wrenched free, eyes blazing. "You're bluffing." I tossed her car keys on the workbench. "Try me." She left. Didn't come home that night. But I didn't sleep either. I drafted an email to Derek's parole officer. Attached, photos. Dates. Proof. Send. Next morning. Derek's gym was closed. Cops swarmed the parking lot. Emily called me screaming. What did you do? I sipped my coffee. Made him accountable. She hung up. By dusk, her lawyer called. She wants a divorce. I grinned. Game on. Emily didn't come home for 3 days. Not that I cared. The house felt lighter without her perfume choking the air. But on the 4th morning, her black Lexus SUV sat in the driveway, passenger door slightly ajar. Like she'd left in a hurry. I didn't hesitate. The glove box smelled like her vanilla lip balm and regret. Beneath a stack of unpaid parking tickets, I found it, a prepaid burner phone, still warm. No password. Just a string of texts to a number labeled D. Emily, 2:15 a.m. He knows. We need to end this. D, 2:17 a.m. End this? You're joking. You owe me. Emily, 2:19 a.m. I'll give you cash. Just disappear. D, 2:23 a.m. $50,000 or I tell your hubby about the Vegas weekend. And the video. Video. My thumb froze. Vegas was 6 months ago, her girls' trip. She'd come home with a sunburn and a hickey she blamed on a jet ski. I'd almost believed her. The burner vibrated. D, 8:02 a.m. Meet me at the old quarry. Noon. Come alone or the video goes viral. I pocketed the phone, my pulse steady. Perfect. 11:47 a.m. The quarry was a graveyard of rusted machinery and cracked asphalt. I parked my truck behind a skeletal excavator, binoculars in hand. Emily's Lexus rolled in at 11:58, kicking up dust. Derek's motorcycle followed, its growl cutting through the silence. She stepped out, sunglasses hiding her eyes, but her hands shook as she lit a cigarette. Derek swaggered toward her, all leather and entitlement. Where's my money, princess? I don't have it, she snapped. Jake's freezing the accounts. He grabbed her arm. Then you'll get creative. Or should I send him the clip of you snorting coke off that stripper? Coke? Strippers? I almost laughed. Emily had always mocked my boring whiskey nights. She yanked free. I'll get it, okay? Just give me time. Time's up. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This goes live in an hour. Unless, his grin turned feral. You wanna work it off? She slapped him. Hard. Derek lunged, but Emily was faster. She reached into her purse, and pulled my Glock 19. The gunshot echoed off the quarry walls. Derek collapsed, clutching his thigh. You crazy bee *TCH. Emily aimed again, voice steady. Give me the drive. Or what? You'll finish me? He laughed, blood seeping through his fingers. You don't have the guts. Bang. This time, the bullet tore through his shoulder. He screamed. The drive, she repeated. He tossed it. She caught it midair, then kicked his motorcycle onto its side, gas spilling everywhere. Wait. Derek scrambled backward. She lit her cigarette, flicked the match. The explosion singed my eyebrows from 200 yards away. 2 p.m. I met her at the edge of the woods, her hands still smelling of gunpowder. She didn't flinch when I stepped into view. You followed me, she said flatly. Had to see the show. I nodded at the smoke rising behind her. Cleanup's gonna be a bitch. She tossed me the flash drive. It's empty. I wiped it weeks ago. Derek was bluffing. But you didn't know that. I pocketed the drive. So why kill him? Her laugh was hollow. You think this was about you? He was going to bleed me dry. And I don't share anything. The coldness in her voice almost impressed me. Almost. Cops'll trace the gun to you, I said. She smirked. It's registered to you, Jake. And guess who has a motive? My stomach dropped. She'd planned this. Let me find the burner. Lured me here. Sirens wailed in the distance. Emily stepped closer, her breath hot on my neck. You should run. They'll blame you for the texts too. All those threats from your number. I grabbed her wrist. You switched the burner's SIM card. Took you long enough. She wrenched free, backing toward her car. Don't worry, I'll visit you in prison. Bring flowers. The sirens screamed louder. I lunged, but she was already speeding off, gravel spraying my shins. 3:30 p.m. They arrested me at a gas station 20 miles south. Handcuffs, Miranda rights, the whole show. I stayed silent, replaying her smirk. Then, halfway to the station, the cop's radio crackled. All units, additional 911 call from quarry vicinity. Female victim down. Possible gunshot. The cop glanced at me. That your wife? I smiled. Not anymore. The cop car reeked of stale coffee and bad decisions. I stared at my cuffed hands, the metal biting into my wrists, and replayed Emily's smirk. Female victim down. Had she staged her own injury? Or had Derek somehow survived the inferno and turned on her? The not knowing itched like a bullet wound. The station was a blur of fluorescent lights and bored detectives. They tossed me into an interrogation room, its walls stained with the ghosts of liars. I kept my mouth shut, counting the cracks in the ceiling. Then the door slammed open. A detective with a salt and pepper buzz cut slapped a file on the table. Your wife's in surgery. Got shot. She named you as the shooter before passing out. I leaned back. And you believe her? He flipped open the file, crime scene photos of Emily sprawled by her Lexus, blood pooling beneath her. My Glock lay nearby, fingerprints wiped clean. Ballistics matches your registered firearm. Her burner phones got texts from your number threatening Derek. Neat little package. Too neat, I said. Check the quarry security cams. Scorched. Just like Derek's body. He leaned in. But here's the kicker, Emily's blood was found inside Derek's melted wallet. Care to explain? I almost smiled. Finally. Open your evidence bag. Look at the serial number on the Glock. He frowned but complied, reading it aloud. Now check your file, I said. My registered Glock serial ends in 7792. That one ends in 7793. The room went still. Bought 2 identical guns last year, I said. Emily stole one from my safe. Yours is the decoy. The detective's phone rang. He stormed out, cursing. 2 hours later, they cut the cuffs. 7 p.m. The hospital hallway buzzed with cops and whispers. Emily's room was guarded, but her lawyer, a shark in a pantsuit, let me in. 5 minutes, she hissed. Emily lay pale, tubes snaking from her arms. Her eyes fluttered open, rage burning through the morphine. You framed me. I sat, pulling a voice recorder from my pocket. You shouldn't have used my anniversary as your burner's password. Her breath hitched. I hit play. Emily, 2:15 a.m. He knows. We need to end this. Derek, 2:17 a.m. End this? You're joking. You owe me. Her face twisted. That's inadmissible. You stole. I found it. In your car. Which you reported stolen last week. I leaned closer. Funny thing, Derek's parole officer just shared security footage from his apartment building. Shows you carrying a duffel bag in and out every Thursday. Same day's cash went missing from our safe. She stiffened. You're bluffing. I tossed a photo on her bed, Derek's charred corpse, a silver key clutched in his hand. Recognize this? Safety deposit box 214 at First National. The one you rented under a fake ID. Her machine beeped faster. Cops already cracked it open, I lied smoothly. $50K in cash. A flash drive. And a love letter you wrote him, signed with lipstick. No. They'll match the prints. The ink. The lies. I stood. You're not a victim, Em. You're a receipt. She lunged, tearing her out. I'll kill you. The lawyer rushed in, but I was already at the door. Save it for the trial. Midnight. The cops found the real Glock buried in Emily's Pilates mat. My lawyer, a pit bull named Rosa, made sure the press got every detail: the stolen gun, the burner phone, the safety deposit box Emily's key unlocked. By dawn, the headlines burned. Lovers double-cross ends in murder-suicide plot. Cheating wife shot by own stash money. But the best part? Derek's corpse in the quarry? A meth head drifter he'd paid to wear his leather jacket. The real Derek had been hiding in a motel, waiting to blackmail Emily again, until Rosa leaked his location to his drug cartel creditors. They found him in a dumpster, missing 3 fingers. 3 days later. Emily's arraignment was a circus. She wore a smirk and a $2,000 blazer, still playing the wronged wife. When the judge denied bail, she spat at me, "You'll rot for this." Rosa handed me a coffee. "She'll get 20 years minimum." I watched Emily thrash as they led her away. "Make it 25. The first prison visit wasn't mine. 3 weeks after Emily's sentencing, a guard found her cellmate dead, face blue, throat swollen like rotten fruit. The coroner called it an allergic reaction. I called it a warning. Rosa slid the toxicology report across my kitchen table. Cyanide. In a whiskey flask her lawyer accidentally left during a visit. I stared at the photo of the flask, sleek, silver, engraved with D's initials. Derek's? Stolen from his corpse. Or what's left of it. She paused. Emily's got a new admirer. A guard named Torres. He's been smuggling her gifts. I poured 2 fingers of bourbon, the ice cracking like bones. She's recruiting. Worse. Rosa's voice dropped. Torres transferred to the men's block yesterday. Where your brother's serving his embezzlement stint. The glass froze at my lips. Mark. My baby brother, 3 years into a 10-year stretch. Emily's parting shot. 10 p.m. The prison visitation room smelled like bleach and desperation. Mark sat across from me, his orange jumpsuit hanging loose, a fresh bruise blooming on his jaw. You shouldn't have come, he muttered. Torres hassling you? He flinched. Just, leave it, Jake. I slid a photo of Emily's flask toward him. She's using him to get to you. Why? Mark's eyes darted to the guards. She thinks I know where the Vegas video is. The real one. The room tilted. What real one? He laughed, bitter. You think her little burner phone confession was all of it? She filmed you, man. That night at the Hilton, when he trailed off, guilt sharp. My stomach turned. Vegas, the conference I'd lied about. The stripper. The lines of coke. The mistake Emily had orchestrated. She blackmailed you into screwing up my books, I said slowly. Got you jailed to keep you quiet. Mark nodded. The video's in a locker at Union Station. Keys taped under Torres' desk. But if Emily finds out I told you. The guard's baton slammed between us. Time's up. Mark mouthed sorry as they dragged him away. 2 a.m. Torres' desk was unmanned, the night shift dozing over crossword puzzles. The key slid loose too easily, a trap. But the locker was real. Inside, a flash drive and a note in Emily's looping cursive. Jake, miss me yet? The drive held 2 files. 1. Mark's embezzlement evidence, fabricated, .pdf. 2. Hilton_night.mp4. I clicked play. There I was, 18 months ago, snorting coke off a dancer's thigh while Emily's hidden cam glinted in the champagne bucket. The timestamp, 3 days before Derek's first text. She'd planned this for years. My burner rang. Blocked number. Enjoying the film? Emily's voice slithered through the speaker. Mark's got a copy too. Wonder what happens if it leaks. I gripped the phone. You touch him, I bury you. Too late. Torres moves him to Gen Pop tomorrow. Lots of Derek's old cartel buddies there. She paused. But maybe I call them off, if you apologize. The line went dead. 6 a.m. Rosa met me at the station locker, her heels clicking like a countdown. The video's inadmissible. Illegal recording. Doesn't matter. I crushed the flash drive under my boot. She'll have backups. This was a flex. Then we flex harder. Rosa handed me a dossier. Torres' wife works at a daycare. His mistress works at a nail salon. Let's see how loyal he is when his secrets hit the warden's desk. I smiled. You're scary. You're paying me to be. Noon. Torres met me in a parking garage, his uniform reeking of sweat and fear. I'll move your brother to protective custody. Just keep my family out of it. I tossed him the key to Emily's locker. Tell her the video's gone. That I'm broken. He pocketed it. She'll want proof. I pulled out my phone, played a clip of me sobbing over the flask. Recorded in my car, ketchup packets staged as tears. Torres bought it. You're as twisted as she is. Worse, I said. I don't have a soul to lose. 8 p.m. Emily called again, triumphant. Beg, Jake. Properly. I let the silence hang, then whispered, please. She exhaled, hungry. Again. Please, Emily. Don't hurt Mark. Too late. A muffled scream echoed behind her, Mark's voice. But keep begging. I'll call you when he stops. The line died. I lit a cigarette, watching the prison's floodlights flicker. Right on time. The prison surveillance room reeked of burnt coffee and stale panic. I stared at the grainy monitor, Torres' finger hovering over the playback button. You sure you want to see this? Play it. The footage showed Emily's visitation booth, Mark slumped in a chair, his face swollen. Emily sat across from him, her orange jumpsuit crisp, smile venomous. Emily, you look like hell, Mark. Prison food not agreeing with you? Mark, go to hell. Emily, leaning forward, Jake didn't tell you, did he? About the second video. The one where he begged me to ruin you. Mark lunged, but guards yanked him back. Emily laughed, cold and clean, as they dragged him out. Torres paused the tape. That's when they moved him to solitary. I pointed to the timestamp. Rewind. Zoom on her left hand. He did. Emily's fingers drummed the table, Morse code. Dash. Straight face. Straight face, dash. LOCKR1. Union Station. The same locker that held the Vegas video. She's baiting you, Torres said. She's bored. I tossed him a burner phone. Call her lawyer. Schedule a visit. Next day, 9 a.m. Emily sat behind bulletproof glass, her smirk sharp enough to slice concrete. I picked up the receiver. Miss me? Like a toothache. She leaned closer. Hear Mark screaming? Or did you mute that too? I slid a photo of locker 1 across the counter. You left a present for me. Again. Open it, she purred. Already did. Found Derek's old flip phone. Loaded with voicemails. You begging him to stop the blackmail. To love you. Her smile faltered. Funny thing, Derek's mom suing you for wrongful death. Those voicemails? Proof you manipulated him. Her lawyer's thirsty. Emily's nail stabbed the glass. You're lying. I pressed a button on my phone. Emily's voice, crackling, Derek, please. I'll leave Jake, I'll give you the money, just don't. Her fist slammed the divider. Turn it off. Guards surged forward, but I waved them back. The lawsuit'll add years to your sentence. But I'll kill the tape, if you sign this. I slid divorce papers through the slot. She shredded them, paper snowing to the floor. I'll own you, Jake. From in here. You'll never breathe free. I stood. You're right. I won't. Her eyes narrowed. What? I pulled a vial from my pocket, a drop of Mark's blood, smuggled from his last infirmary visit. Got a buddy at the lab. DNA matches the cyanide in your flask. Proves you poisoned your cellmate. She froze. Guards. I barked. Check her teeth. They tackled her, prying her jaw open. A cyanide capsule tumbled out, standard cartel suicide insurance. The warden stormed in. Where'd she get this? I nodded at Torres. Ask him. Torres paled. I didn't. You did. I tossed him a photo of his mistress's BMW, license plate clear. And now the cartel knows too. Emily thrashed, spitting curses, as they hauled her to the hole. Midnight. Rosa met me at the parking lot, a flash drive in hand. Union Station locker had one more surprise. The video loaded. Not Vegas. Emily, in our kitchen, tampering with my bourbon, a slow drip of arsenic. She's been poisoning you for months, Rosa said. I laughed, raw and ragged. Knew the whiskey tasted funny. We'll add attempted murder. She'll die in prison. I stared at the screen, Emily's face glowing with malice. No. Let her rot. Let her hope. 3 a.m. The call came as I poured a drink. Warden, Emily's demanding a deal. Says she'll expose Derek's cartel ties. Tell her I said no. Warden, she insists you'll change your mind. Says. Check the garage. The line died. I sprinted outside, wrenching open the garage. My toolbox sat open. Inside, a severed finger, Derek's, wearing my wedding ring. A note dripped with red ink. Game's not over. The severed finger sat on my kitchen counter, Derek's ring glinting under the fluorescent light. Emily's message was clear, she still had teeth. But so did I. I called Rosa. I need a meet with Derek's cartel contact. Tonight. She didn't ask questions. 10 p.m. Abandoned meatpacking plant. The cartel's enforcer, a wiry man named Cruz, leaned against a blood-stained wall, chewing gum like it owed him money. You got 5 minutes. I tossed him the finger. Emily's sending you gifts. He stiffened. That's Derek's. And she's got more, I lied. His head. His organs. Keeps them in a prison freezer. Says it's art. Cruz's jaw twitched. The cartel didn't forgive disrespect, even to dead traitors. I slid a prison blueprint across the table. She's in cell block D, guards rotate at midnight. Plenty of time to reclaim what's yours. He pocketed the blueprint. Why help us? She poisoned my brother. I stood, leaving a burner phone on the table. Call when it's done. Next morning, 6 a.m. The news broke fast. Riot at women's prison, gang-related attack leaves 1 dead, 5 injured. Emily's mugshot flashed next to the headline. Inmate Emily Carter, 34, found dead in laundry room. Authorities suspect targeted assault. Rosa called, voice tight. You set this up. She set herself up. I stared at the garage toolbox, now empty. The finger was a bluff. She never had Derek's body, just that one piece. The cartel took the bait. And Mark? Transferred to a minimum security facility this morning. Paperwork's clean. She exhaled. You're a monster, Jake. I'm what she made me. 3 days later, Emily's funeral. It rained. Hard. The kind of downpour that felt like the sky was scrubbing the earth clean. Only 3 people stood at her grave, me, Rosa, and a hunched figure in a black hoodie. The figure approached as the casket lowered. Torres. His face was gaunt, one eye swollen shut. They kicked me out, he muttered. Cartel thinks I helped you. You did. I handed him an envelope. One-way ticket to Belize. New name. Don't come back. He snatched it, disappearing into the rain. Rosa raised an eyebrow. Why save him? He's not worth the bullet. The grave driver shoveled dirt onto Emily's casket. I tossed in Derek's ring. Rest in hell, sweetheart. That night, my empty house. The whiskey tasted right again. No arsenic. No aftertaste. Just smoke and regret. Her ghost haunted every room, the couch where she'd lied about Derek, the garage where she'd plotted, the bed where she'd faked love. I torched it all. The fire department arrived too late. Let the flames have her. 1 month later, somewhere in Mexico. Mark sipped a margarita, his orange jumpsuit replaced by a Hawaiian shirt. You didn't have to bribe the warden. Yes, I did. I adjusted my sunglasses, watching the sunset. Your family. He hesitated. What about the Vegas video? Emily said there were copies. I grinned. You think Rosa and I spent weeks tracking her burners for fun? They're ash. Along with everything else. He laughed, real and loose, for the first time in years. Epilogue, 6 months later. The postcard arrived on a Tuesday. No return address, just 3 words scrawled in red ink. I'm still here. I burned it. Ghosts can't haunt you if you don't believe in them. Final lesson. Betrayal doesn't make you weak. It tells you who to cut loose. Emily thought she'd buried me, but graves are just dirt. I crawled out. If you're reading this, sweating over your partner's late nights or strange texts, don't cry. Don't beg. Burn the receipts. Salt the earth. And walk away without a sound. The end.